I'm John Reeds. I'm lecturer in quantitative human geography here in the Geography Department of King's College London. We teach a first-year methods class in which students learn about surveys, go and conduct surveys in London markets, and then analyze the data in both a quantitative and a geographic way. And one of the challenges that we've had is as class sizes have grown, we now have 170 undergraduates. It's been very hard to engage them. So I was looking for ways that I could possibly use technology to try and get all of them involved. And so that's where Poll Everywhere came into the picture. Poll Everywhere is a commercial service, and what it enables you to do is to design a poll using their website, download some PowerPoint slides, and embed those into your existing PowerPoint to allow students to vote with their computer, with their mobile phone by texting in a short code, things like that. They could vote on polls and also contribute to open-ended answers. The results can be displayed in real time as part of a PowerPoint presentation. To create a slide to use in a PowerPoint presentation was actually quite straightforward. You go to the Poll Everywhere website, you basically create the questions that you want to ask, and you can group them together and just download them as sort of a set of slides. Getting them to look right for your presentation requires a little more work. I did end up watching a very short video that explained how to format, but if you're not too fussed about that, it's quite easy to set up a poll, download it, and insert it wherever you like into your existing PowerPoint. So the free version of Poll Everywhere allows you to collect up to 40 responses, and then it's capped. For my project, King's is in the process of trialing the software, so they had a user that had full access, and it was with a view to actually seeing whether this was a technology that should be rolled out more widely within the university. Well, so the results were really interesting. I mean, and they were quite mixed. I mean, the first thing was that there was a very good fit between, we were teaching students how to do surveys, and we were using interactive polls to help teach them that. And so students tended to, when we did an evaluation at the end of the term, a lot of students said that firstly, it had helped make the class more engaging, and secondly, that it actually taught them something about doing surveys, because we actually used some of the polls were structured in ways to illustrate the concepts that we were trying to communicate. So in that sense, there was a nice alignment between the technology tool and the learning objectives, if you will. There were certain challenges that meant the results were not quite as great as we'd hoped. So a lot of students participated at least once or twice. However, in terms of regular participation, it was more on the order of we think about 50% of the class. It was much better to have a couple of really good questions that gave them a little bit of, if you will, a hit of interactivity and fun and engagement, rather than to try and run a whole series one after another, because at that point they tended to, start checking Facebook or, doing whatever else it was they were doing with their phones. One of the things I also found was I looked at the time over which responses came in, and so for sort of multiple choice, it seems like about 2 minutes is about ideal. After that, there's really very little coming in. For open-ended responses, they obviously needed longer because they had to construct an answer of some description. The challenge with open-ended responses is, of course, if you let the students submit anything, that shows up on the screen. But I discovered there's a tool for managing that so that you can pre-approve or conversely ignore the less constructive answers from the students. The other two interesting things that I found in the analysis was that the polls that got the highest participation were the ones that were really linked to real world and ideally somewhat controversial topics. Whereas ones where I didn't have to hand a great kind of real world topic and came up with a poll that was more, if you will, designed to be cute, something about student life, the engagement with that was actually much lower. In terms of technical issues, because I had to run it off my own computer and to also supervise the open-ended responses, both my computer and my phone needed to be online. Sometimes with Access King's, with the Wi-Fi network, if there were enough other people online at one time, the connection sometimes got a little shaky. I think it would be really useful to sort of set ground rules as part of the process of introducing interactive polls. So say, this is something that you can all engage in, but here are my expectations, here's how to participate. That was something that I sort of inadvertently skipped over, but I think would be quite useful to have kind of in the first class before you start introducing the process. We intend to use it again in this class. I think the main challenge now is I need to do away with my gimmicky questions and come up with ones that are much closer to the kind of harder hitting real world controversial topics, and try and think about how I can reinforce the learning by really carefully targeting the polling questions.